Hello, my fellow board gamers, and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today, I bring you a run through of import export, and if you're after a shorter insight, check out a video I brought you guys last week. Now, this one is brought to us by designer Jordan Draper, just at the bottom here in very, very small print, and it's also published by Jordan Draper Games as well. Now, this one plays 2 to 6 player count, and it says it takes in the region of 45 to 90 minutes, which I think is about right on this one. There is just me as usual, 2-player setup. We've got these guys in this kind of mustardy yellow colour, and we've got this black colour here. Now, these actual boards here represent a slight advantage. These guys are, what should we say, specialists in agriculture, and you can see that sort of colours matching some of the cargo containers out there. And these guys are based on consumer, which gives them a slight head start into which goods they can potentially host under their contracts. Now, the game is about attaining contracts under these ships. You're then going to try and load various matching colour cargo to the contracts on that ship. You're going to be sending these out once you've met those requirements. You're then going to be trying to get ships back by importing these containers that are out there and hiring them as either crew, so it's multi-use cards in this game, or you're going to be having them as goods stored at your harbour, and those goods, the more you trade in certain types of goods, you're reliable as a business who is importing and exporting, and you'll be able to ship more sophisticated goods or more complicated goods, basically. And as you complete these ships, you've met the contracts, they'll be tucked under up here, and they give you more abilities in terms of how many goods you can store and how many crew members you can have, and you'll get money and credits for that. And there's also some very juicy sort of game breaking descriptions at the top of these contracts, which you're focusing on as well. So that'll make a whole lot more sense as we sort of give you a couple of rounds of how it's going to play. Now, you've got a supply island at the top here. 2-player game, there's only 2 cards revealed. It's a big deck of cards. There's 100 in total, minus any expansions and what have you. So that's just slightly out of camera view, but that's where that is. And this game has all these beautiful little credits that are actual little cargo containers in metal. Now, the colours don't really matter. They're basically 2s and 10s, and that's all reminds you on your board here. So to begin with, you're going to have 5 cards, and these would be secret. And for today's video, I'm going to kind of just leave them out open so I can show you what I'm doing. So let's just say this is the starting player token. These guys are going to go first. Now, how can you do all these actions which are listed on your board here? So I'll do it in kind of, rather than top to bottom, in what would make sense. So the first thing you're kind of trying to do is get a contract on the way. And you're looking at your cards, and the contracts are at the top here as to, in this case, flour. So you're going to be trying to ship in flour in your ship. But you can see on the side these sort of 3 little dots. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Now, to be able to undertake this contract with this supplier, you're going to need an experience of 2. At the moment, you are experienced in 1 because we naturally start as this colour in agriculture. But we haven't got another one. So you couldn't do that unless you had another good here, and they kind of get stashed under here when you're doing the import action, or if you actually had enough crew to be able to do the action twice, you can sacrifice one of those goes instead to bump up your goods value, which makes absolutely no sense at this stage of the game, but we hopefully will come back around to that one. So at the moment, I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, okay, I can't actually fulfill any of them because I haven't got that you can see they all require some form of experience. So instead, I can't do contract. I then can't load either. I can't load anything from my hand onto the ship because there's no requirements there. I haven't got a contract. So I'm thinking, okay, am I going to go import? Am I going to import some of these into my harbour? And doing so would allow me to have either a crew member and a good, and I kind of want goods because I want to develop my experience, or I could have 2 goods and no crew. I think we're going to do that. So we're going to pick a ship. Well, actually, what we do is we declare we're doing the action first. Can I even do the action? So you look in your hand, and to be able to import, you need to play an import card. We do have an import card, and it says on the left there, import, and the colour matches it as well. If you didn't have an import action, you could spend 2 of the same type of something else as a wild, so you could place 2 load and say, I am doing an import action. So obviously we're not going to do that because we've got this one here. We also declare how many times we're going to do this action. Now, this is one action, and if we did have crew stashed under here from previous turns, you could declare you're going to do it 1 plus another time if you had another crew member there specifically instructed to do importing. So we're going to do it once. We then go clockwise around the table, and 2-player game, obviously these guys then look at their hand and they have to make a decision. Are they going to undertake importing as well? Even though it's this player's go, they get to participate. They are going to participate, so they have to play an import card as well, or they could play 2 of these as a wild, and they just happen to have a lot of agricultural goods there. So they're going to get involved as well, and they declare they're only doing it once. So everyone's involved now. And what's going to happen next is this player is going to pick a ship, and it says all this on your board. So they're going to pick a ship at sea. We've got 2 ships out here, and they're thinking, okay, which goods do I want, and which potential crew members do I want? Pirating might be quite nice. That means I can do a little bit more pirating of goods if I have more crew focused on that. But I definitely want some goods, because looking at my hand, you know, maybe I want to get in the flower game, and I'm going to need at least 1 more agricultural. Now, if I do go for an opponent, if I go for my ship and I lose the auction, because that's what's going to happen in a minute, it's going to be a bid, I get compensated as well. But hopefully that'll just sort of play out, and I'll show you that if it occurs. So we're going to choose this ship then. We're both involved. I pick this ship. We then do a blind bid. Now, I've started off with 10s frustratingly, so let me break that into 5 2s. There we go. And these guys, you know, secretly in the hand, they've 4 credits, which is a lot, because this is essentially victory points, and whoever gets to 50 first triggers the game end. So this is 4 of 50, and then you figure out based on all extra end game victory points credits who wins. So here we go, blind bid. These guys have gone 4. These guys have gone 2. Now the winner pays up, and the other guys get their money back. And this money just goes back to the supply. So they've won the bid there to take goods from the ship. And it says here the winner takes 2 containers from it and puts 1 in the crew and 1 in your goods, or both in your goods. So which 2 are we going to take then? So these are discarded, by the way. They've utilised those actions. We'll make a little discard pile up there. And what have we got? We wanted potatoes, didn't we? Well, not necessarily potatoes. We wanted this agricultural card to pop under our goods. And you can see now we've got 1, 2 experience in agricultural goods. We're also going to go for a pirate here. And that is one of our crew members. Now, there is a limit to how many of these you can have on either side. And I kind of like to take some of these containers, try not to mix them up as your actual money. And again, your money's secret, by the way, your credits. I like to put it on here to show what my capabilities are. So at the moment, I can have 2 there and 1 here, because very small imprint on the board, it says 2 times your contracts, and you naturally start with a base of 1. This is 1 contract, so 1 times 2, I can have up to 2 here. And in terms of my crew, I can have a times 1. So I have got the 1, so I'll leave these here, and it's just easy reference for me to sort of go, right, yep, I've only got 1 of 2, and I have got 1 of 1 there at the moment. Okay, so this was from our ship, so there's no compensation. Now, if these guys have won that, this player would have acquired 2 credits compensation, because they didn't get to take the goods off that boat. So that's importing. And we then pass over. Next player is up. Now, let's just say this player, which they aren't quite happy with the selection of cards they got, because they're all agricultural, which, you know, you can still play 2 as a joker. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe that's the best thing to do. But I'm going to demonstrate the other action you can do, which is literally to fill up to 5. Or if you've got 5 cards already, you take 1 additional card. Now we have got 4. We take a card. We've met our hand limit of 5. And that is it. That's their go done. Nobody else can follow. Whereas this player was doing an action, people could choose to engage in that action as well. But if you just refill, boom, passes over. So it can be really, really quick turns on this. So back up to these players then. Now they've only got 4 cards. They could equally do the same. They could say, right, I'm filling up to 5, boom, play passes over. But they're going to try and do a contract now. So contract, frustratingly, the contract I want to play is the card needed to undertake the contract. So if you can see I have to utilize this card as a contract, but then that's the one I wanted to put under here. So I have to be a bit sneaky. I'm going to play these 2 loads as a wild, and I'm going to undertake the contract action. Now, I'm only doing it once. I haven't got any other crew members to do it more than once, and we see if anyone else wants to participate. Now, these guys are thinking, right, yeah, I really could do with a contract as well. I've got loads of contract cards, and they're going to play this one here and declare they're doing a contract as well. Now, you can only ever put 1 down. You can't put, all 4 of them down and say I'm doing 4 contracts. So they're participating. Back to this player. They now, and it says all this on your board, I'm going to discard these before I forget, they get in the way. They're going to contract a ship with a good card from your hand. So we're placing this flower under here, and that now means that we have a contract on the ship, and the requirement, we need 4 agricultural containers. So now we're looking to match these containers onto this ship, so you can already see the diversity in what these cards are for. Contracts, they're for the type of goods, they're for the crew, they're for actual container colors. So that's the contract. We'll put that on there to show that's our contract, and that's them done. Over to these guys, they participated as well. And remember, we were able to do this 2 contract because of the 2 little dots, because we've already got experience in agriculture here, and naturally our harbour starts the game off with that experience. These guys could play this sugar one because they don't require any experience. They couldn't do the jasmine tea, they couldn't do this one, and they could do the soap, which is 0 anyway. But if it was 1, they do have experience in consumer goods. Now looking at, where are we, these 2 here, they only require 2, what we got, consumer cargo containers to be put in there to head off into the open sea, or 2 of these agriculture. Now, you'll see there is actually 6 spots. There's 4 greyed out on these, which means you could load more than 1 contract on this in future turns. So I think we're going to go for the soap for now. We don't require any experience, even though we have got the 1. And that's the contract action. Back over to these guys. They're thinking, okay, I'm going to, let's do another contract. Or maybe we want a pirate, because there's only 1 of the, so they're after 2 what we call consumer goods, and there's only 1 out there. But they know this player's after 4 agricultural goods. So there's these sort of decisions to make, and especially in the 2-player game, there's limited containers out there. You've also got Supply Island, and I might just demonstrate that now, actually. So, or can I? We will. So, supply. This is an action we haven't undertaken yet. This is where you can sell a card, one of your cards, to the islands. You just put it there visible for other players to take, and you get 4 credits. And remember, 4 credits contributes to that 50, but you can only do that 1 time per turn. You can't just dish all your cards off and get like 12 credits. Or you can take a card from the supply and you can add it to your crew. So they do have capacity for that. Maybe they want to go and get the pirate, or maybe they want to get 4 credits. Now, to do this supply action, we need a supply car, which is one of the blue ones. But instead, we're going to spend these 2, and we're going to do a wild. Does our opponent want to follow? Yes, they do. They have actually got the supply card. Now, these guys are first, so they get first dibs. Are they going to put a card out there in Supply Island, or are they going to take one? They're going to take this one, and we discard these ones over here, and this is going to go in their crew. And they've met their max of 1. I'm just going to remove these for confusion, because you'll be wondering what those cubes are doing there. Okay, so we've took 1 from the supply, it's over here. These guys are thinking, okay, I can't take this as a crew member because they've already got the 1 max at the moment until they fulfill contracts. But they're going to, we didn't actually think about it, did they? Because we've spent that action to do it, but we haven't actually got a card to sell to Supply Island for the 4 credits. So a mistake on their half. We're just going to run with it, and they've made a mistake, but they committed to it. So that is their action. Over to these guys. They've got no cards. They're going to fill back up to 5. So you can see now they've got a whole host of variety. And it's sometimes interesting to play out your hand, so you just get a whole load of stuff in there. And this is the cards we've got. These guys, it comes back to because they just filled it. And what haven't we demonstrated? We've done supply. We've done importing. Contract we've shown you. Loading then. Now, again, these guys haven't actually got many cards in hand, so they are going to refill as well. Back up to 5. There we go. Back over here. Now, I'm just going to show this quickly. It's definitely not the thing I'd do, but you've got 5 cards. If you wanted to just refill, you've got 5, so you're not refilling to 5. You just take one more card. That's it. Play passes over. Right then, what are these guys? We're going to load, I think. Now, loading is where you take a container from your hand, so you're just looking at the colours, and you put it on your contracted ship. But frustratingly, we don't have a black container, so I'm probably not going to do load right now. We could do pirate, though. So a pirate, we're going to play this one pirate card. We do have a crew member, so we declare, are we doing it once or twice? We're going to do it twice because we want to... Ooh, are we going to do it twice? Well, it's probably only worth doing once. It's not too big because there's only one of these out, and this is our contract. We could say twice, and then we take one that we think our opponent wants. Yeah, we'll do the action twice. Over to our opponents then. Are they going to do it? They haven't actually got a pirate card, but what you can do is you could spend these 2 as a wild to do a pirate action, but they don't necessarily have to unless they want to do it once and twice because they got a crew member. But I'll show you a different way. They could say, no, I don't want to do that. Well, I do want to do the pirate action, but first I'm going to refill. So they have, what have they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have we? Oh yeah, we had 6 cards, didn't we? So they take 1 card, and they're also going to use this crew member to participate. So you can do that. Your opponent can fill up or take the additional card if it's over 5, and they can use a crew member to participate in this particular action. So back over to these guys. They're doing it twice. First dibs though. So pirating then. It's about taking 1 container from a ship at sea or Supply Island and load it into one of your contracted ships. Now the difference between pirate and what was it? It was import. Is that the goods aren't coming to your crew and your goods, they're coming onto the ship, which is great because you want to fulfill that contract and get it out there and earn money. Equally, there's no compensation. These are pirates. If they take, off an opponent's ship, they ain't getting compensated. So we'll discard that one. We'll focus on this ship. We're going to take this one. That's going to sort of hover around here to represent that is 1 container of the 2 required in this contract. And the other one, we're going to take this one. We're just going to discard it because we want to sort of frustrate our opponent here. Now, these guys have got 1 crew member, and they do want one of these. So they're going to go for that, and they're going to pop it under their ship there. Back over to here. I'm trying to think if I missed anything there. You could have took one from Supply Island if you wanted. That's that one. These guys have got a load of cards, and they're thinking, okay, I really want to get this one. So they're going to go and maybe pirate as well, actually. Load. I think they're going to load. We haven't actually demonstrated load yet, so we're going to do a load. Our opponents are not going to load because they haven't really got the required container to put on there. So they're going to refill, and they've refilled up to 5. These guys are now loading, so we'll discard that card. And they're going to load from their hand this agricultural good, so it just pops under here as another container. And they have completed a load. And that is all the actions. So I'll just refresh them. Supply, you can sell a card to Supply Island and get 4 credits, 1 time only. Or you can take a card from there into your crew. Import is about picking a ship at sea to bid on, and the winner takes 2 containers from it and puts 1 in the crew, 1 in the goods, or 2 in the goods. Now, import's interesting because if you did the action twice, there'd be 1 bidding round, And if your opponent only bid, let's just give you a demonstration. These guys did the import action twice. Let's just say they had a crew member. These guys did it once. These guys choose the ship. They do a bid in. These guys win it. But because they only did the action once, they've now utilised that action. But these guys did 2 imports. So on the second import, you do another bidding phase. But because there's no one to compete, then actually probably just going to bid 0. So that's kind of the importance of having multiple import actions. If you have more than your opponents, you're going to get free will, it depending on what's out there, as to what you want to do, and depending on your capacity as well. So that was importing. Contracts, yet we've demonstrated that. You've chosen a contract for one of your 2 ships. Now, you only have 2 ships in this game. So once this goes out to open sea and you've met the requirements, you'll want to get one of these back, otherwise you're stranded and your business isn't doing the job of importing and exporting. Loading, we've just demonstrated that. You took a card from your hand and you've put it under your ship. And pirating, we've demonstrated that, whereas you can go and take a container from the supply island or one of these ships and load it onto here as well. And I'm going to try and complete a contract. It's this player. We are looking out here. We wouldn't mind this one, so we're going to go import, and we're going to do it once. Our opponents are not going to engage in that, so they can bid whatever they want. It's going to be 0. They choose this ship. They take this good. They've now got 3 of the 4. That's discarded. Now, it wasn't their ship, and these guys are going to get compensated too, because a good was taken off their ship. But interestingly, this ship is now empty, so it comes back into port, and it allows this player to have another contract under here, potentially, to do other stuff. That was that was import, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. And they didn't have another good to put under the crew, which they haven't got the capacity anyway. Did I do import then? I completely messed up on that import, actually. Import was not going to put a good here. Import was going to put a good, this card under here, my mistake. So the only way to actually get cards or containers onto here is by pirating or loading. Importing catches you off guard sometimes. You think you're kind of bringing them from here onto here, but actually it's from there to develop your engine and your infrastructure. So yeah, that was a shame. We wanted that card really under them. We've kind of helped our opponents out by releasing one of their ships there. Okay, over to these guys, and they've got a host of cards. We really would like to get another consumer goods card, but for now we have got the capacity to have another contract, so maybe we're going to do that instead. And we're going to spend this one here. So we're doing the contract option. Are our opponents following? No, we're just going to assume they're not. And the contract these guys are going to place is this wheat. Now, it's got 0 experience required, which is great because we haven't actually acquired any goods yet, so we can start building on that contract. If you can see those in the camera view, that was that one done. Back over, they're going to fill up to 5, and that's them done. These guys are going to equally fill up to 5. So you can see filling up to 5 doesn't give your opponent a chance to get anything. Back over, I'm just doing this to demonstrate how quickly this game can flow from one player to the next. Okay, so there's a lack of containers out there. They really need these 2 containers, and you can't use wilds to do that. So they're literally just going to have to take a card and just maybe hope they get one of them containers, or their opponent, gets this wheat one out there so that they can be taken for their ship. These guys are going to try and load. So they've got a load action. Are their opponents going to load? No, because they haven't got any agriculture. They're going to load this particular one here onto this ship. It's a matching colour. And that's that one done. Yeah, this comes back over. They are going to just take another card. These guys are thinking, okay, we can't load, but we can spend these 2 to load, and this is great. I finally get to demonstrate a completed contract. So they spend those. Are these guys going to load? Let's just say no, but they are. I probably missed that, actually. They're going to take a card instead. And these guys are loading this one here. It's kind of grayed out, but it is still an agricultural good. They put that under there. They have spent that action. Now we've actually met the requirements of one of our ships. If this ship, let me just say, had this one on as well, if that was the scenario, which is fine because there's 6 goods that can be placed on the ship, and there's 2 of these agriculture and 4 of these illegal goods, which makes 6. You couldn't leave port though until you've got 4 reds and 2 agricultural, but we haven't done that. But it's just to demonstrate that you can have a bit more complexity to these contracts. We have now met this requirement, so this ship comes out to sea and we get paid. Now in this particular version you're using these metal ships, whereas in some of the other versions you have these cards, and these cards show you that depending on how many containers, you're going to get paid credits. So between 2 and 3 containers, which you've got 2, we are getting 6 credits. Boom, we're on our way to 50. And 1 card will go to the supply. Oh, I've completely forgot. I think it's just an extra card that comes out. There we are. That's great. That's exactly what they want to acquire before this player to complete this contract. Now, interestingly, the contract you completed, so you leave those containers out there, is wheat, and it says you may load your agricultural containers onto any contract. That's powerful, folks. That means you can use these color containers on any contract. So that then gets kind of filed at the top here. There's an ongoing benefit. Now this, more importantly, as well as that fantastic action, gives you better multiplications. So we now have our base contract and another contract, so 2. So 2 times the 2 means we can have 4 goods. 2 times the 1 is 2 crew members. You can see this development of your business. Now while we're here, why do you want more crew members? Well, they give you the option to potentially do more actions. So rather than just 1 pirate, we could do 2, which means we can take more goods from the ships to load up on here, which speeds our game up. If there was more supply, we could, what could we do? We could take more cards from Supply Island. Importing, we could have more chances to bid than on our opponents, which gets us the cards we want. More contracts, get them out there quicker. Loading more cards from your hand onto the ships to speed it up. So that's why you want your crew members. Your goods is about set collection and giving you the experience to fulfill these contracts because of these dots on the side. To me, this one, you need 2 of the consumer goods, and remember, this is one of those. But set collection, you can see on the side here, whoever has the most of each type of good is going to get 6 extra credits at the end of the game. And if you have, unfortunately, the most illegal goods, you're actually going to lose 6. And if you have at least 1 of each of these goods at the end, there's 10 points on offer as well. So this went out, we got paid our things, our credits, we refilled Supply Island, and we've now got this lovely extra benefit to be thinking about. Okay, that was a lot of stuff going on, and I can't even remember what we did, but I'm assuming it's these guys now, and we are thinking, okay, there's some cards out there we desperately need, and how are we going to do that? We're going to pirate. So we pirate, we're going to declare we're doing it twice because we've got a crew member. This player, whose cards I don't think they had any, actually. I think we spent them all, didn't we? We spent 2 pirates to do a load. Can't remember, but anyway, they got no cards. But what they are going to do is replenish to 5. So they're not participating in the action. Although they could, actually, because they've got a pirate one. So yes, they are. So they take the cards as well. They're declaring they're going to do it once. These guys go first. They're going to take these 2 here. And they're going to pop them in here. Now, that was from an opponent. These guys, oh no, there is no compensation because it's a pirate. So they've done their action. Immediately, this contract is fulfilled. This heads out to sea. You take the contract itself and leave these cargo containers. So now you may contract and load all 4 containers for flour if able to do so at the same time. That's nice, but more importantly, it gives us now the scope to have better multipliers on the side. Back over to these guys because they haven't done the action yet after them. And I've forgot what we're doing. Pirating, wasn't it? So they're going to pirate. They needed... Oh, Supply Island as well. So we're going to pinch that one quickly. And this now fulfills a contract. Oh, these guys didn't get paid credits, did they? So 4... is going to give them 10 credits. Boom. These guys, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff happening here. So this boat comes back. This one now comes out because they did the pirate action. They've got 2 cards. 2 cards gets them 6 credits. And the actual benefit for the contract. Soap, you may load your consumer containers onto any contract, similar to the one they've already got, actually, the wheat. So they've got a lot of flexibility now. So now they've got 3 contracts, which means they can have 3 crew members and 6 goods. Wow, have I missed anything? So, yeah, they've done that. Back over to these guys. I'm going to leave it there, folks, because I could play this game all day. It's fantastic. So, I've kind of run through what they all do. You're going to be developing your crew to give you more actions. You need these goods. I haven't really emphasised how important those goods are, because once someone triggers 50, yeah, you might have been the first to get there and your opponent's on something like 40. But if they've got the most of this, the most of that, they're going to get all these extra credits and end up ousting you and potentially winning. Now, I'll go through these scoring at the end of the game. So you're going to get 2 credits for each container that's been loaded onto a ship that hasn't actually gone out to the open sea yet. You're going to get 1 credit for each technology, what we got? 2 credits for each illegal good. So you can see on here, it demonstrates nicely so I've got 2 agricultural goods here. I'm going to get 2 points for them. I also have the most, so I'm going to get 6 points as well. And you work your way down. Now, if you have the most illegal goods, you're going to lose 6, which I think I've already said. You will then get 10 credits if you have at least 1 of each type of good, which is just referenced at the bottom here. And you then get any credits according to contracts that score at the end of the game. Some of these are game break, and I believe there's one where if you get I can't remember it now, but basically you can win the game by completing the condition on there. You then add up all your credits in hand. Whoever has the most is the winner. And there we are, import export. I love the multi-use card. It's a bit of a matter, what should we say, it's a lot for the brain to take in at first, because you got your cards, you're like, right, I want to do a pirate action. Well, let's just say you wanted to do the load, but you have to play the load to then, but that's the colour you wanted to put on the ship. And then you're like, okay, right, I don't want to be doing that. I want to use these 2 wild, but then maybe I want that supply layer. So I've got so many cards that I want to send a card to supply in to get the money. So you really have to think ahead. And sometimes the ship you've loaded up with all these goods, all these typical type of colours, you're then sending out for other people to attain. Or maybe you want to do that because then you are planning ahead to want these colours in future contracts you put out, and it makes life a lot easier for you to get the colours, because there's definitely a lot to do with what colour containers are out there and how you're going to fulfill your contracts as quickly as you can, because remember, you own the business of importing and exporting and making that money as you go along. There we are, folks. Enjoy.